I want to thank everyone for joining us. Good afternoon. My name is Marianela Franklin. I am the Chief Sustainability Officer for Utrgv. And again, thank you so much. We are delighted to be hosting today the Sustainability Fellowship Program reception. We will be hearing from 5 outstanding students, graduate students, sustainability fellows, and their year-long work of conducting research with an approach and a focus to sustainability. But before we get started, I do want to introduce you to our leader, which is Dr. Parwinder Grewal. He is the Executive Vice President of Research of Graduate Studies and New Program Development, and he is here to provide us some welcome remarks as we begin this reception. So Dr. Grewal, I give you the floor, or should I say I give you the space, because we're not physically on the floor. So the space is yours.
Thank you, Marinella. Welcome everyone for joining us today in a virtual manner, as Marinella just mentioned. This year has been tough on all of us due to the pandemic. However, there has been a lesson for us through this pandemic. I believe we got many lessons, but 2 that are relevant for today's event: disaster preparation or preparedness. As you can see, United States was not really prepared for this pandemic. If we want to focus on sustainability, we need to be prepared for disasters. And a related lesson in this has been to focus on resilience. Resilience is a component of sustainability, but again, how resilient we are as a population and how resilient our ecosystems are if we are to achieve sustainability. As you know, world population is going to be reaching 11 billion by 2050. And there are many, many challenges that we all face as a society, as an international society. Major grand global challenges that include climate change, food insecurity and hunger, diabetes and childhood obesity, water security that includes both quality of water and availability of water, energy security that's focused on renewable energy, and biodiversity loss and poverty. United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, that are 7 of them, do include addressing these global challenges, but they also include additional things. In order to address these challenges and the sustainability goals, these challenges, individually as well as leaders of the future programs, whatever they would lead, and serve as change agents in their communities and in their workplace. With that in mind, we established this particular program, Sustainability Graduate Fellowship Program. We wanted to include our graduate students, in addition to their own research programs, into current sustainability projects that are going on campus or in our community, and or create new such programs or projects. Our goal was that we will be able to train these students, provide them the leadership skills necessary so that they themselves become change agents, in addition to getting their own education. That is a master's degree from Utrgv, from these graduating students who will be sharing those projects in a little while. With that, I give the space to Marianella Franklin.
Thank you, Dr. Graywall, so much for those warm welcome and remarks. I appreciate your leadership and helping everyone see just how amazing this program that was just established 2 years ago is doing, and everything that it's doing for our students. With that said, I want to quickly just share with you the program agenda. We do have a very nice agenda, a very nice program. We do have limited time, so I just want to share with you that I will be introducing you to the fellowship program and the graduating cohort, as well as their project presentations. With us, we have 5 outstanding students who are Raul Espinoza, Karla Salazar, Jaqueline Lopez and Griselda Salinas, and Armando Garces. I will open the floor afterwards, or the space, for Q&A, but I will share that we will only be taking maybe 2 to 3 questions, because we have a very, very special guest this afternoon, which is our keynote speaker, and I will introduce you to him as we move forward with the program. He is Mr. Ramu Damodaran. He is the Chief of United Nations Academic Impact. Afterwards, we will recognize some of our fellows, and then we will have closing remarks. For those of you who may have questions throughout, I ask that you please use the Q&A box through the webinar session, and that you raise your hands after the presentations of the students so that we can try to address those questions during that time. If for some reason someone does not have the opportunity due to the time constraints to get their question answered, we ask that you be patient with us. We will get back to you, and we will try to get all those questions answered at a later time. With that, I do want to give you a little bit of background, a little bit of history as far as the commitment of sustainability at UTRGV. The Office for Sustainability was established in 2009 with our legacy institution. And so it's been a little bit over 10 years now. But I am very excited to share that when those institutions, those legacy institutions, came together to form UTRGV, UTRGV looked for a new strategic plan and brought together many stakeholders from both campus and community to bring forth a new strategic plan with a mission statement whose focus is student success. And within the mission statement, you can clearly see all the tools that the university, all the areas of focus the university has tried to bring together to achieve that student success. So I'm going to read the mission statement for you. I know some of you are guests and may have never seen this mission statement before. Transforming our world is the mission through our students to transform the Rio Grande Valley, the Americas, and the world through an innovative and accessible educational environment that promotes student success, research, creative works, health and well-being, community engagement, sustainable development, and commercialization of the university discoveries. So I'm really excited to share that within these 10 years, and most recently in 2018, we received the distinguished rating of gold from ASHE. ASHE is the Association for Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. This is wonderful news for our institution and for our region. We received this gold rating and we're the first in the UT system to receive this gold rating. We were third in the state of Texas in 2018 when we received this gold rating. We also have other rankings, which we are number 6 in the state of Texas as far as sustainability institutions are concerned. And this is a rating that we received from the Sierra Cool Schools organization. We are also in the top 200 sustainability institutions nationwide, and this is from the Princeton Review. And most recently, we submitted a world ranking report to the UI Green Metric, and we will hear back from them this spring. So we'll be sharing that ranking with you when we receive it. I do want to share with you the purpose, which I think Dr. Graywell has already shared quite a bit. The program's purpose is to invest in the next generation of leaders as they engage in projects addressing sustainability and community resilience, strengthen cross-cultural collaborations and partnerships, and advance sustainable development in the Rio Grande Valley, the Americas, and the world. The Sustainability Fellowship Program is a one-year research experience that empowers graduate students to become emerging leaders through sustainability-focused research, leadership training, and networking. And this all revolves around the core concept of sustainability. And this core concept revolves around systemic thinking, because sustainability is a systemic approach to problem solving. So we live in a world of three systems: the social system, which is we the people; the environmental system, which has all our natural resources that we need to survive, our clean air, clean water, and clean soil, which is our planet; and the economic system, which of course we all know we need finances to take care of things. And so this is also called the triple bottom line, which is to protect the three Ps: protecting people, planet, and profit, but not greedy profit. It's protecting profit that protects people and protects the planet. And I want to share with you a little bit in reference to systems thinking, because it is through systems thinking that, that helps us understand the situation holistically. It helps us see a bigger picture in which we may identify multiple leverage points that can be addressed to support constructive change. It also helps us see the connectivity between elements. And it is through the systems thinking that our students collect their qualitative and quantitative data when they are researching their specific topics. And so the competencies of this program are, of course, to begin with systems thinking, but also values thinking, strategic thinking, futures thinking, and design thinking, as well as interpersonal competence, which includes emotional intelligence, vision for making a difference, and inclusivity that engenders trust. And now I'm not going to read the entire list that is over to the side, but I do want you to take a look at some of these, because these professional development skills are not listed because we share these as part of the program. These skills and knowledge gained are what our students have cited when we have done assessments and exit surveys. So as fellows, they have shared with us that they have gained leadership skills, public speaking skills, and they also feel they've gained knowledge to become change agents for sustainable development. So I share these as, again, the list that our students have shared with us as they go through the program. And so this program, as mentioned earlier, began and was established 2 years ago in spring of 2019. So since then, we've had a 92% completion rate. And Dr. Graywell and the Graduate Office have awarded 38 fellowships since 2019. 18 fellows have completed the fellowship. 12 are currently doing their fellowship. And at the moment, we have 5 awards right now to begin in the spring. So any of you who are interested and have yet to apply, please do so immediately, because time is running out and so is the funding. So you should apply as soon as possible. Of the 38, 3 fellows have dropped the program, and this was because 2 of them received job offers they couldn't refuse, which we're very proud of. And 1 of them had a change in visa status and had to drop out. I'm also very excited and proud to say that 39% of our students have been international students, a total of 15 out of the 38, 2 from Ghana, 1 from Kenya, 5 from Bangladesh, 3 from India, 3 from Mexico, and 1 from Cuba. And so this all is in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This is very important to us because we want to bring sustainable development to our region, but also at a global level. As I mentioned to you, many of our students are international students, so as they conduct their research is trying to have impact not just locally, but many times also in their countries of origin. Others are partnered with other institutions and are doing research with other countries. And so we are very proud to say that this research is in contribution to these sustainable development goals, and with hope that in the very near future, they also have a global impact. And so this is just a very quick snapshot of our 17 current fellows. There's 17 fellows working on 16 projects. And of the 16 projects, they are working on 10 different sustainable development goals. And so they are contributing or trying to contribute to these goals as they conduct their research. And so with all that said, I am going to introduce you next to the 5 outstanding fellows. These are the graduating cohort. They began summer of 2019 and are completing their fellowship. And so without further ado, I want to share with you that you will be hearing from Raul Espinoza. His project is the development of a sustainable chronic kidney disease detection method. And Karla Salazar, whose project is the impacts and in-depth study of the environmental contaminant PFOS and its interactions with water. And then we have Jaqueline Lopez Griselda Salinas, who will be presenting on a program that they established a year ago or 2 years ago, La Frontera. It is a vehicle for parent-student engagement in sustainable education. And Armando Garces, who is working on developing an effective prevention model for Alzheimer's disease, a sustainable solution for therapeutic intervention. And so we will begin with our very first presenter, who is Mr. Raul Espinoza. And I am going to ask Hector Solis, who is assisting us. This will be a pre-recorded presentation, and so he will be setting up that presentation for us to view right now.
Good afternoon. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Raul Espinoza. I am a graduate student in physics here at Utrgv and a member of the Sustainability Fellowship, for which I have been working on a project which is called Development of a Sustainable Chronic Kidney Disease Detection Method. I believe that an important aspect for having a good life is to have good health. Sadly, for a lot of people around the world, this is out of their hands. And I know this by personal experience, as my family has a long history of diseases. Most of my aunts and uncles have problems like diabetes and high pressure, and led some of them to develop a different health problem known as chronic kidney disease. Knowing this was an important factor when I decided to work on this project when I was given the opportunity. But before getting into my project, it will be best if everyone understands what chronic kidney disease is, and let me explain you why it is a big problem. The chronic kidney disease, or CKD for shorter, is a term used to refer to the loss of kidney functions that progresses with time. As we know, the kidneys have a very important function for the body. They are in charge of filtering the waste generated in the body through urine, and thus, they prevent it from going into the blood. When the kidneys begin to malfunction and cannot filter that waste properly, it begins to accumulate throughout the entire body. With time, it can reach dangerous levels, which can be fatal. It is estimated that around 697.5 million people around the world suffer from CKD, which is a very alarming number, as this represents approximately 9% of the total world population. In terms of percentage of the population, the United States unfortunately is in the 8th place, with an 8% of their population having CKD, particularly affecting the elders, with 38% of the population over 65 years suffering from it. I also want to mention that the second most vulnerable ethnicity to CKD is the Hispanic community, with 14.5%, way over the national average. This is very important for the people of the Rio Grande Valley because 92% of the population of the ERGV is of Hispanic origin. Now you may ask, why are there so many cases of CKD? Well, the answer is that CKD is a very silent disease. In most of the cases, the symptoms do not show up until there is already significant damage, so people do not get treated on time. For this reason, it is believed that 9 out of 10 people with CKD in the world are not aware of their condition. It is also important to mention that although there is no cure, CKD can be controlled if detected on time. Luckily, there is a test capable of this, the Glomerular Filtration Rate Test. This test is also known as GFR, and it is simple. It only needs a blood sample from the patient, which is then analyzed by a medic, and then the medic determines if there is risk of developing CKD, or its stage if that is the case. This is possible because the GFR is able to measure a waste present in blood that is called creatinine. Creatinine is a waste product created by the muscles, and it is present in all fluids of the body. When the kidneys fail, creatinine goes into the blood in abnormal levels. The amount of creatinine can be accurately determined by the GFR, which is good, but if we see it from a sustainability perspective, there are some problems with it. There are 3 main problems: waste generation, cost, and its invasive nature. In order for the testing procedure to be considered sustainable, we must deal with these problems, but the GFR is limited in this aspect. That is why finding an alternative is the main goal of this project. It has been proven scientifically that the levels of creatinine of all fluids of the body are equivalent, so it is possible to use any other fluid and get the same results. That is why the alternative that we are working on is a biosensor that can use saliva instead of blood to test for CKD. A biosensor is a device that is used to detect the presence or concentration of a certain biological component in a sample. Probably you have used one already. This picture is of a glucose biosensor, mostly used to keep track of diabetes, and one of the most commonly used. But there are already other examples in the market. The biosensor we propose is of a variety called amperometric biosensor. This type of biosensor uses electrical current to analyze the sample. The process is short and simple. First, a sample, which in this case is saliva, is placed inside the biosensor in a compartment that has a bioreceptor, whose function is to detect the amount of substance that is in the sample. When the biosensor is turned on, current goes through the bioreceptor into the sample, and depending on the amount of target substance in the sample, the current will vary, and these variations can be displayed as readable data by the user. Biosensors give accurate results, and it has been shown by their use in other applications. And our CKD biosensor improves on the 3 big problems that GFR test has. In fact, these improvements have a direct impact in the 3 pillars of sustainability: the environmental, the economic, and the social. Apart from this, the project directly contributes to the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, more specifically to goal number 3, good health and well-being. Let me go into detail on each category. The environmental problem of GFR is the generation of medical waste. It requires syringes, which cannot be used again after being used, and end up in landfills, polluting the soil. The US Renal Data System estimates that there are 3.8 million patients over 65 years old just in Medicare in the US. If they require 2 tests per year, the estimated amount of waste produced is 150,000 kilograms. The CKD biosensor will greatly reduce this number, as instead of using syringes, the biosensor will use test strips made of paper that weigh less than a gram, and since saliva does not require a special procedure for disposal, they are recyclable. The contribution to the economic aspect is that it will make testing for CKD more affordable. The average cost of a GFR test in the United States is of around $30, which is not a very high price, but it may be an economic burden for the lowest income families. The price range for biosensors that are currently in the market is between $30 and $50, and that would be the case for our biosensor too. Also, Producing a testing strip for the biosensor can cost as little as 10 cents per strip, so in overall, it will bring down the cost of testing. Finally, there is one more contribution in the social aspect. The main reason for which people are unaware about having or not having CKD is because they do not get their health checked regularly. There are many reasons for this, which can go from lack of time to being afraid of syringes. The use of a CKD biosensor can change this completely. The biosensor is capable of giving results immediately, in comparison with a GFR test, which can take up to a day. It will also make it unnecessary to make doctor appointments if you own one, as the biosensor can give a result that the user can easily understand. Now, I will talk about the progress of our project. At first, we estimated that the project will require 2 years to be fully completed. During this first year, we set as goal to choose a proper bioreceptor, which we did. And it is a compound of gold and titanium nanoparticles. Since due to their conductive capabilities, they are able to read the changes in current with precision. We also began to experiment with the bioreceptor in order to have it give the proper output. But this step was interrupted by the pandemic, as the university laboratories were closed. So instead, we switched to the theoretical part that was going to begin next year, and began the programming of the code that will control the biosensor. We are currently in this step, which is the longest. Now we have a working code and have identified the mathematical equations that the biosensor will need to calculate the stage of the kidneys. The next step is to begin the theoretical experimentation with the code. And once we can use the laboratories again, continue with the bioreceptor experiments. Once we get the same results from both sources, we can begin to build a prototype, point at which we conclude the project. Although the quarantine delayed the project, we believe that we are on track to finish on time and be ready to build a prototype by the end of 2021. To conclude my presentation, I want to reiterate the importance of this project and its contributions to sustainable development. The biosensor brings a direct benefit in healthcare to the whole world and can be of great help to areas that are so vulnerable to CKD, like the RGV. In the long run, the CKD biosensor can have a very important and positive impact on the numbers of CKD around the world. Before I finish, I want to thank everyone for being here today and listening to my presentation. It has been a great honor. I would also like to thank Dr. Gregwell for the opportunity of being a Sustainable Fellow, to the College of Graduates for funding my project, to Ms. Marianela Franklin and all the people of the Sustainability Office for their assistance and guidance throughout the whole year, and to my advisor, Dr. Ahmed Tuhami, for giving me the opportunity of working in such a wonderful project and for giving me advice that has helped me reach this point. With that said, thank you once again for being here today. Everyone, I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raul. This was just an extraordinary piece of work. It was a delight to work with you, and we look forward to all your successes, and we will keep in touch with you for the following year to see where you're at with your project. Thank you so much. Next, we will have Ms. Karla Salazar, and she will be presenting on her project, The Impacts and In-Depth Study of the Environmental Contaminant PFOS and its interactions with water. Once again, I ask Hector for his support as he will be sharing Ms. Karla Salazar's pre-recorded presentation with us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Karla Salazar and I am currently working on my master's degree in chemistry. Today, I will be presenting on the impacts and in-depth study of the environmental contaminant PFOS and its interactions with water. I wanted to start this presentation by talking about this little girl. This little girl used to be me. As a little girl, I was a little odd and different from the rest of the other little girls that played around with Barbies or dolls. As a little girl, I would imagine myself to be a chemist without even knowing what a chemist was. Strangely enough, I was interested in mixing different things to see the outcome. One of the memories I vividly remember is mixing toothpaste and water just to simply see what would happen. Looking back at those instances made me realize that I was always destined to belong in the chemistry field. Now, after 15 years, I am finishing my master's degree in chemistry and working on an important research project to help develop a more sustainable future for all. My project supports the Utrgv mission statement to transform the Rio Grande Valley, the Americas, and the world to promote a more sustainable development. My project also aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. More specifically, it targets the good health and well-being to reduce the number of deaths and illnesses from hazards, chemicals, and air and water and soil contamination, the life below water category to increase the scientific knowledge to eventually develop a research capabilities to improve the ocean's health, and the clean water and sanitation category to improve the water quality by reducing pollution and minimizing the release of chemicals and materials. Now, I want to introduce you to a harmful and toxic environmental contaminant, perfluorooctanosulfonic acid, also known as PFOS. In this slide, you can see the accurate composition of the contaminant PFOS. The problem with this molecule is that it likes water so much that it's really hard to separate it from the water systems and is therefore bioaccumulating into the environment. The production of PFOS started back since the 1950s. This contaminant was used by big manufacturing companies such as the DuPont and the 3M company. They used it to create many different products such as the fighting foam, the pesticides, floor polishes, and shampoo. Due to the very extensive production of this contaminant, the contaminant inevitably escaped into the environment. It is now found in several compartments of the environment, such as the air, water, and soil systems. In addition, due to the extensive integration into the environment, this molecule also started by accumulating into the animals and humans biological system worldwide. As of 2017, it was reported that an average concentration of 20 to 30 micrograms per liter has been found in human blood worldwide. From this map shown, the light-colored areas symbolize the least affected areas. However, the dark-colored areas, they show the most affected areas. As it can be seen, the United States is one of the most affected areas in the comparison to the whole world. So this is very alarming due to the several potential health diseases that the accumulation of PFOS can lead to. Some examples involve hepatotoxicity, neurotoxicity, and immunotoxicity. Inducing hepatotoxicity can worsen the conditions for those individuals that are already struggling with high cholesterol. The disruption of the neurotoxicity can induce cell death and aging, which can potentially increase the chance of getting Alzheimer's earlier. Damage to the immune system can weaken the immune system, which is very critical, especially right now with the novel coronavirus. If the immune system is hurt and being disrupted, there will not be a higher chance to fight off such disease. PFOS affects everyone. In this chart, it is shown that no matter at what stage of life we are at, we still get bioaccumulation of PFOS. That is due to the foods and drinks that we consume daily. This graph shows in percentages that most of the PFOS bioaccumulation comes from the fish and seafood, followed by the fruits, and followed by the meats. Regardless of these major sources of dietary intakes, it is shown that PFOS bioaccumulation also comes from vegetables, milk, drinking water, and many more. Environmental impacts of this contaminant are very straightforward. This contaminant is bioaccumulated into the environment. That includes the air, water, land, and life systems. As long as this contaminant is still into the earth, biological systems will get affected, such as the animals and humans. Currently, this contaminant is not well known. Therefore, PFOS can come costly, whether you want to check its concentration in the water you're using at your house to how much is being bioaccumulated into your blood. PFOS can cost up to $800 just to know how much it is being contained into your system. Since this contaminant is not well known, as previously mentioned, more than likely the testing will have to be arranged at a separate external laboratory, and the insurance is not likely to cover for this type of testing. By bringing an awareness to this contaminant, hopefully in the future, there's more liable testing and it can be covered by insurance and it can potentially cost less. I also wanted to share the average amount that these diseases already cost in the United States. Approximately for various types of diseases, the US pays hundreds of billions of dollars in diseases annually. If we find a way to remove these contaminants from the blood, we could potentially decrease the cost of several diseases per year. For the corporate aspect of it, I also wanted to share that for the persistent use of this contaminant and causing harm to the environment, the animals, and the humans, these two companies lost hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuit money. Now, I want to bring you back to the beginning to discuss my objective for the research. The objective of my research includes to help create a baseline on the environmental contaminants with the inclusion of PFOS in Puchen, China, and to study the behavior of PFOS as it comes in contact with the water to then be able to engineer a mechanism to remove it from the environment. This research has 3 phases to it. Phase 1 focuses on the environmental survey on the environmental contaminants located in Puchen, China. Phase 2 focuses on the environmental study for fluorosulfonic acid, and Phase 3 focuses on environmental contaminant survey locally here in the valley. For Phase 1, this is a geographical location and the testing sites of where the survey took place. These sites include both seawater and groundwater. At the moment, the research of conducting an environmental contaminant survey locally here in the valley is in progress. However, due to the lack of funding, it hasn't been completed. Regardless, this project is still in progress and will be continued. This slide shows all the environmental contaminants and the chemicals that were tested on. The yellow box are the chemicals that were found to be exceeding the national standards provided by the government. This slide shows an example of the sites that were exceeding the standards for the chemical ammonia and nitrogen in the groundwater. Similarly, this slide shows the sites that were exceeding the standards for the chemical and organic phosphorus in the seawater. To summarize the results of Phase 1, the successful identification and report of the chemicals that were found to be exceeding the national standards were reported. These chemicals include the chemical oxygen demand, inorganic phosphorus, inorganic nitrogen, and the ammonia nitrogen. Fortunately, PFOS was not detected by the instrumentation used. This data will create the baseline for southern region of China in the coastal region of Puchen, China. For Phase 2, we gathered and prepared this data for future solution. We found the structure and energy information for the detachment of this molecule. I would like to clearly state that we do not have a solution for the removal of this environmental contaminant yet, but this data is fundamental for other analytical chemists to engineer a mechanism to remove the environmental contaminant from the water. To summarize Phase 2, the simulations and theoretical work for the behavior of this contaminant is completed. Because of this research phase results, we now have the models to continue research to the next phase. In conclusion, I want to state that this project is not done. Future work will be done in studying this contaminant experimentally and with the continuation of Phase 3 here locally in the valley. I also want to emphasize the importance of this project because the environmental contaminant PFOS is not well known. The main target for this project is to increase the awareness of this contaminant to the general public. In addition, we want to increase the knowledge in our scientific community in order to remove this contaminant from the environment and prevent further bioaccumulation. The achievement of a more sustainable future lies in the hands of the general public and the scientific community. Last but not least, I want to thank the following individuals for the help they have provided me with. Personally, I'd like to add that my experience as a sustainability fellow helped me become more knowledgeable about sustainability, be better prepared for my future career to incorporate sustainable solutions, and to communicate my scientific work in a way that anyone can understand. This concludes my presentation, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Karla. This was just remarkable to be able to hear and learn about this contaminant that I'm sure most of us had never heard of, and a very important research so that in the future, as she mentioned, we can find ways to extract it and eliminate it from water and from our blood systems. This was remarkable. Thank you so much, Karla. We appreciate and look forward to keeping in touch with you next year to hear the results here in the Rio Grande Valley. Next, we have Ms. Griselda Salinas and Jaqueline Lopez, who will be sharing their project at La Frontera. Again, this is a project here within our community in K through 12, and it is a vehicle of engagement with parents and students. So Hector, once again, I ask if you could please set up their pre-recorded presentation to share with us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Today we will be presenting La Frontera, a vehicle for engagement My name is Jaqueline Lopez, and I'm currently enrolled at Utrgv pursuing a master's in educational technology.
And I am Griselda Salinas, also currently enrolled at UTRGV, pursuing a master's in educational leadership. We are excited and here today as a founder and project leaders of La Frontera Club. This project has a special meaning for us, for it is a way to bring and provide resources and opportunities to families and children of the Rio Grande Valley, especially to immigrant families and English language learners just like us.
I was born and raised in Progreso, Texas, a small community in the U.S.-Mexico border. In an effort to provide my sisters and I with better opportunities, my parents decided to immigrate and start their family in the valley. As I grew up and attended school in the U.S., I was enrolled in bilingual education classes that were predominantly in Spanish until I reached the third grade and was then transitioned into English-only classes, where my struggles began. My father, as a head of household, was at work most of the day, and my mom, a non-fluent English speaker, shied away from any parent-teacher meetings or school participation. I was basically alone when it came to asking for help, and my parents were not able to help me with homework or projects because it was all in English. Their confidence to be involved in my education started to decrease and continued to decrease as I transitioned into middle school. As a result, when I reached high school, there was a lot about the educational system that I was not familiar with. I managed to keep my grades up despite my struggles and graduated high school, but with no idea how to continue my educational journey. Thankfully, someone appreciated the work ethic my parents instilled in me and decided to guide me through the whole process. After 4 years and with the support of my family, I managed to become the first college graduate in my family. This graph shows U.S. educational levels in 2016. The gray bar shows how U.S. Mexican immigrants are less likely to pursue a higher education degree when compared to U.S.-born and other immigrant groups. Due to social, cultural, and linguistic barriers, families of Mexican immigrants have limited access to equitable educational opportunities. La Frontera was founded with the visions to instill pride and promote cultural awareness amongst English language learners and their families. It has become a vehicle for engagement amongst families, schools, and community. Its efforts have provided culturally relevant and innovative opportunities for parents to become engaged leaders in the teaching and learning of their children. Family Math Night was a culturally relevant event sponsored by Margo Elementary in partnership with UTRGV professor Dr. Olga Ramirez. Her students as pre-service teachers presented activities that connected mathematics to everyday life. Projects range from finding the relevance of mathematics in making tortillas to calculating currency exchange of dollars to pesos. This night served as a way for parents, students, and future teachers to engage in valuable learning exchange that led to more family engagement events. Family Steam Night was an event led by La Frontera Club parent leaders collaborating with West Local East teachers to feature student projects in science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. Teachers and students expressed how much finding a purpose for their learning increased their engagement and were excited to make this an annual event. When COVID-19 reached the RGV community, there were many concerns about how to stay safe and engage with students and parents during the pandemic. La Frontera members were hosting tutoring events to help each other in the upcoming STAR exams, and these had to be halted. Celebrations of members' accomplishments were still made possible with the support of community partners, and efforts to continue providing each other support led to online Zoom meetings. To create economic, career, and citizenship opportunities, La Frontera parents participated in a 5-week summer program to improve their language acquisition, communication, and technology and leadership skills. UTRGV students engaged with La Frontera parent participants using the Community Engaged Scholarship and Learning Framework. This framework revolves around the building of relationships and community partnerships between UTRGV instructors to provide experiential learning opportunities for college students and make learning more relevant on issues that are important to the community. Participants expressed how empowering it was to learn from college students and their new perspectives in teaching them with relevance. This 5-week summer program was free of charge and had an estimated value of $1,500 per parent, which included one-on-one ESL instruction and the attainment of unsurmounted technological skills. Undergraduate students of UTRGV who participated as instructors were able to register for 2 summer courses at no cost to them. The estimated amount of aid per student being $2,033. By the end of the program, participants gained enough English proficiency to be able to communicate with schools, family, and community. Additionally, they gained basic technological skills that aided them in helping their children in current online courses. The Fiesta Conference is an annual bilingual conference sponsored by Weslaco ISD. In this conference, Ms. Salinas and La Frontera parent leaders shared their La Frontera Club journey and experiences and how valuing their cultural awareness and building relationships impacts student learning positively. La Frontera has been able to provide parents and students in the community with many benefits. Students have gained self-confidence, a sense of belonging, pride, and knowledge about the culture. Parents have been empowered through leadership opportunities and have gained confidence in supporting their children in reaching academic success. La Frontera also successfully created partnerships in the community that continue to grow with ideas on how to maintain this sustainable project. During the COVID pandemic, parents voiced concern about their family's health. Parents were able to share measures they had put in place and proposed initiatives or new projects that were relevant to their health and culture. Parents proposed projects that would connect generations by researching family recipes and their health benefits, staying active while connecting with cultural backgrounds, and building social and emotional connections needed to overcome COVID-19.
Our future sustainable goals include to expand La Frontera Club throughout the Weslaco Independent School District and neighboring communities, to create partnerships with school districts, UTRGV, local, state, and federal agencies, to continue exploring ways to increase access to higher education for families in the Rio Grande Valley, to create educational and certification opportunities in leadership and community development for parents, and to continue keeping students and parents engaged in a safe environment as we overcome this COVID-19 pandemic. We would like to thank Dr. Parwinder Grewa, Executive Vice President of Research, Graduate Studies, and New Program Development for the award and the opportunity for this project.
The Graduate College for funding part of this project.
Dr. Juan Salinas Jr., co-founder of La Frontera, for his guidance and advisement.
Weslaco Independent School District for its support.
Arise Adelante for its participation in our events.
And the Office for Sustainability, with special thanks to Marianela Franklin and Forrest Sparks for their continuous support.
Again, thank you very much for your support.
Thank you so much, Jackie and Griselda. It is just so inspiring to see all the work and all the programs that you have put together at La Frontera. And our hopes are that you receive the support to continue this project and to expand the project, not just in Weslaco, but throughout the entire valley. This is just incredible and very, very inspiring and heartwarming to see all the work and the results of this project. I will share that this is the graduating cohort. Jackie is part of the graduating cohort, but Ms. Griselda Salinas will be with us next semester to expand and share with us the success, the continued success of the program. So we can't wait to hear from you, Griselda, next semester. Thank you again. And next, and last but not least, we have Armando Garces III, and his project is on developing an effective prevention model for Alzheimer's disease, a sustainable solution for Hispanic Latino communities. So once again, I ask Hector if he can help us in setting up his pre-recorded presentation, and that will conclude our 5 outstanding fellows who have finished this year their presentation. So we will hear from Armando next. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great day. My name is Armando Garces III. I am a graduate student in the Biochemistry and Molecular Biology program, and I am currently doing research for the Department of Health and Biomedical Sciences. My title is Developing an Effective Preventive Model for Alzheimer's Disease, a Sustainable Solution for Hispanic Latino Communities. One thing we cannot control is time. As we and our loved ones continue to age, our risk of developing age-related diseases increases as well. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia in the US, and age is the most important risk factor. The United Nations projects that by 2050, 1 in every 6 people will be over the age of 65. Once reaching the age of 65, our risk of developing Alzheimer's disease doubles every 5 years after until reaching 50% chance by the age of 80. Now, both of my grandparents on my father's side were affected by Alzheimer's disease. I witnessed the progression through the disease and saw how unforgiving it could be. Growing up, I was determined to understand the reason why medical intervention wasn't benefiting their condition. This disease affects cognitive and motor functions. People living with Alzheimer's disease have trouble performing basic daily activities like communicating, walking, and swallowing in severe cases. This means they need some type of assistance throughout the day. Alzheimer's disease has had a great socioeconomic burden. In 2020, Alzheimer's expenditures in the US were approximately 305 billion, and this is expected to increase to 1 trillion by 2050. For some people that may be able to afford a paid caregiver, this may not be a great issue. But there are communities that struggle to make ends meet and may struggle to balance work and being able to take care of their loved ones. Minorities have a higher percentage of people over the age of 65 with Alzheimer's disease. There are factors that increase the risk of the Latino population to develop Alzheimer's disease. These include the prevalence of other diseases like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure. Another factor is low socioeconomic status. About 20% is poor compared to 8% of the non-Hispanic white population. Latinos living in low-income neighborhoods are 3 times more likely to develop cognitive impairment. Some of the poorest communities in the United States can be found in the Rio Grande Valley, and these are known as colonias, in which 40% of its residents live off approximately $10,000 per household annually. Colonias are considered disadvantaged communities due to the lack of infrastructure, like running water and electricity. These neighborhoods are in rural areas and are isolated from the rest of society. They lack transportation, which makes it difficult to attain healthcare and other resources. Alzheimer's disease is considered a multifactorial disorder. The exact mechanism of how it is developed is still not known. Late onset Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of Alzheimer's disease, accounting for 96% of all cases. A person may actually be developing Alzheimer's disease without displaying any symptoms. As it progresses, the effects on the brain cannot be reversed. Therefore, early detection or prevention is crucial. Evidence shows that environmental factors trigger modifications in our DNA. However, it is difficult to quantify exactly which factors are people exposed to that help develop Alzheimer's disease. A study showed that 90% of older people prefer to age within the same community. Researchers have been studying the neighborhood level factors in order to understand environmental exposure and the relationship it has with Alzheimer's disease. The AD exposome was recently proposed to understand the gene by environment interaction over a period of time. This study considers air pollution, socioeconomic factors, and rural versus urban communities as external factors, and individual external factors as well, like diet, exercise, and infections. These could include viral or bacterial infections. This type of study also measures internal factors like blood markers, which include sugar levels, and inflammatory factors, as well as gender and traumatic brain injury. Air pollution has been identified as one of the most harmful factors, and has been identified to be involved in cardiovascular disease and respiratory disease. The particulate matter 2.5 is characterized by its size, and this has been identified to cause chronic inflammation that may have a role in Alzheimer's disease. However, the mechanism of how this is caused is still not known. Inflammation can be observed in Alzheimer's disease patients and has also been observed in people with HIV-associated neurocognitive disorders. Now, inflammation in people living with HIV is triggered by the immune system in response to viral infection. However, inflammation observed in Alzheimer's disease is not. So, some similarities have been observed in neurodegeneration of both of these diseases. There are two main hallmarks that have been identified more than 100 years ago for Alzheimer's disease, and these have remained fairly the same. And these are the accumulation of extracellular amyloid beta and intracellular hyperphosphorylated tau protein. Despite research, there is currently not a drug that can successfully stop or even slow the progression down successfully. The hallmarks that I have just mentioned have been observed in people living with HIV. Approximately 1.2 million people are living with HIV in the US, and this number is much higher in other countries, especially developing countries. Even though treatment has been successful in suppressing viral loads, people are still affected by neurodegenerative diseases known as HAND. The brain functions as a reservoir for HIV and has been observed in the brain matter and the white brain matter of the brain. This disease has similar AD-like symptoms, which include cognitive dysfunction. Interestingly, it is thought that viral infection actually ages the brain at a faster rate. This overlap caught our attention, and we figured if we can compare the expression of genes in the brains of HIV-associated neurocognitive disorders and the expression of AD patient brains, we will be able to identify common pathways that are involved in the development of both diseases. Through genome-wide analysis, we will be able to identify the expression of genes in specific samples. These are the two data sets that we used. This includes the age and the number of patients included in the data sets. However, there's limited data available for public use, so we were limited to these two data sets that were found. We hope that our results will allow us to identify a target which is needed for the development of new drugs. Our current observations have highlighted pathways involved in our body's immune system, which can cause inflammation in the body. This has been studied in viral infection. However, the research in Alzheimer's disease is limited. We will now investigate our observations using Alzheimer's disease models in a laboratory. The idea is to get a better understanding of how exactly these mechanisms may contribute to neurodegeneration in both diseases. We hope that this investigation will provide a target which can be useful for drug development and can serve as a marker that can be measured in individuals exposed to various environmental stimuli to be able to understand the gene-environment interaction over time. Continuing to research, we have two goals that we want to promote, and they are good health and well-being for people of all ages, and the development of sustainable cities. Being able to know exactly how the environment we live in affects our health will allow the development of new policies for the development of communities so that they may promote both health in people and our environment. This will relieve the community of a great socioeconomic burden Alzheimer's disease has had on the aging community and allow us to use that money to benefit the community in other ways like promoting education. As our technology continues to advance, our understanding of the disease of the human body continues to increase. We believe that our efforts, along with other current research, will allow us to understand how we can successfully intervene or prevent the development of Alzheimer's disease to reduce the impact of families all over the world and maintain the quality of life for the aging community. And at one point, every single one of us is potentially at risk as we continue to age. For now, it is important to love and cherish our loved ones as our time continues to elapse, you know. So basically, I want to leave y'all, you know, with a sense of hope that, you know, researchers like myself will continue to, you know, research, so we are able to understand this and be able to stop or detect it at an early stage, so it doesn't come to a point in which you lose your loved ones before they're actually gone. I would like to thank Dr. Grewal for giving me this opportunity to research on something I am so passionate about. I would also like to thank the Graduate College for funding my research, and Dr. Upal Roy for allowing me to work alongside him, as well as my committee members, Dr. Hansapani Rodrigo, which has helped me complete my genome-wide analysis, and Dr. Gill and Dr. Gladys Maestri for their expert advice. I would also like to thank the Office for Sustainability of the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, especially Miss Marinella Franklin, which has had an important role in the development, my professional development, and being able to incorporate new ideas and bring a holistic approach to my research. I would like to thank Ms. Sandra Montalvo for being there for us whenever we needed her. You know, she was able to communicate with us whenever we needed anything, and she managed to reach out to us any time of the day. Really grateful for that, and for this program that has really helped me evolve as a researcher, as a person in our community, right? And I would continue to work to benefit the rest of our community. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you all enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Armando. This is just remarkable work that you are doing, and we wish you much success because, as you have stated, we really, really, truly need this disease to be understood, and so that we can further, you know, the advancements of whether it's medications or technology, or reducing, as you mentioned, the risks through our environment so that we can save our loved ones. Because yes, this is truly a disease that is affecting us all, if not directly, indirectly through our family members and our friends and neighbors. So thank you, Armando, once again for your remarkable work. With that, I am going to open the floor for Q&A. Again, I need you to please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. The name of the students and their projects are on the screen, so please be specific as to which student you are directing the question to. Depending on how lengthy the answer is, we will take anywhere from 1 to 3 questions, but you can still leave your questions in the drop box, in the Q&A box. So Hector, I'm going to ask if you could please unmute the first person who's raised their hand so that we can move forward with Q&A. Thank you. And please don't be shy. I'm sure it doesn't have to be a question. It can be a comment. Well, is there someone there?
Hello, hi. I had a question for Raul if he's present. The chronic kidney disease detection method was very, very impressive. That's like, very specific science. And I was wondering if that's a whole brand new kind of revolutionary thing for the field, or is it kind of building on existing technology that we're improving? Because it sounded very, very groundbreaking, but maybe as someone in the field can tell us just how groundbreaking it is.
Raul, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Let me tell you about the CKD biosensor a little bit. For now, how can I explain it? As I said in my presentation, the most widely used method to detect CKD on people is the GFR test, and I have not seen the very wide. In fact, I was doing my research. I didn't find too much information about using biosensors for CKD in specific. We have seen that, as I said, we have seen that using Biosensor and other biosensors that use sweat too for different applications, but not for CKD in particular. So it may be that it is the use is just starting. Or it is that maybe it is still not being before. So there is a big chance that nobody has started using it in an official way. But I believe that anyways, it's still a big contribution to medicine.
Thank you, Raul. And I apologize. I know that his answer was kind of broken up, so we didn't get to hear everything. But in effect, it is something that we believe is truly groundbreaking, since this is a method that has not been seen. If in fact it is out there, it is not massively produced or seen just yet. So we wish Raul and his advisors much success as they continue working on this particular detection method. So thank you, Raul. We will take one more question. So if anyone has, can raise their hand. Dr. Graywall. Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shreya Udavan. I was also a sustainability fellow. I just want to say that the fellows did amazing work, and they did actually, the research was really in depth. And thank you so much, Sustainability Office and Dr. Graywall and Ms. Mariana Franklin for providing such an amazing opportunity to work on sustainability and in many different concepts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shri. Thank you for your kind words. I think Dr. Graywall had a question, so I'm going to leave it open so that he can ask his question. Thank you, Dr. Graywall.
Yes, this has been great presentations by all the presenters here. Very good work and good guidance from the sustainability so that they can frame their research in a much broader way, looking at the three components of sustainability. So it's very impressive. I did have a question related to Armando Garcia's presentation about preventive model for Alzheimer's disease. He has mentioned that sustainable cities would be a way to prevent the disease early on. I wanted to ask him, he explain many factors that expose people to this disease and what key elements of a sustainable city there would be that lead to better life or prevent this particular disease.
Armando, are you with us so you can respond to that question?
Hello. So basically a sustainable city that would allow basically the prevention of Alzheimer's disease similarly to other complex diseases.
Armando, are you here?
Yes, could you hear me? Could y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So like I was saying right now, sustainable cities like any other complex disease that includes multifactorial basically factors. One of the things could be like reducing air pollution through green infrastructure, or building communities that have green space, or areas that promote physical activity for people to basically go out for a walk and be able to communicate with each other. Other ways could be like transportation, reduce this air pollution, like I had said before, with the green infrastructure, which is ways that we could benefit our community. Green infrastructure could serve as a way to increase our biodiversity. As we build communities, we do destroy lands for animals, which could serve as habitats, right? So basically, making our communities better in ways that they could reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease is something that needs more research, but it's something that we are getting a better understanding through the current research that's going on.
Thank you, Armando. Dr. Graywall, if I can share, Armando did look into many of these concerns and found so many with reference to things that we are exposed to in the environment, which are chemicals that come from every direction. But the one he found the most information on, I can share, was air pollution. And so if we could reduce our air pollution, he found the most data, I can say, with reference to air pollution versus the others, because there's just so many chemicals that are in our water, in our soil, and our air. But it doesn't mean that they're mainly in our air. It's just that that's where he found the most data, was in the air. And I asked him to share the data that he did find. So I think his focus was in air because that's where he found most data. So thank you so much to all the students for their remarkable work. And next, I want to introduce you to a very, very special person who is with us today, our keynote speaker, Mr. Ramu Damodaran. He is the chief at United Nations Academic Impact Initiative. Mr. Damodaran is Deputy Director for Partnership and Public Engagement in the United Nations Department of Public Information's Outreach Division. He is the chief of the United Nations Academic Impact Initiative, which aligns institutions to higher learning and research with the objectives of the United Nations and the states and peoples who constitute it. He is also the current secretary of the United Nations Committee on Information. His earlier posts with the organization have included the departments of peacekeeping and special political questions, as well as the Executive Office of the Secretary General. Mr. Damodaran has been a member of the Indian Foreign Service, where he was promoted to the rank of ambassador and where he served as executive assistant to the Prime Minister of India, as well as in the diplomatic missions in Moscow and to the United Nations, and in a range of national governmental ministries. Please help me welcome Mr. Ramu Damodaran.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marianella. Thank you for putting this together and all your help and that of Sandra. You know, when we started our conversation, what was it, 75 minutes ago, it's been a very gray day here in New York. But as the conversation went on, and you might see this from my screen image, the day has grown brighter and brighter with a promise that all our wonderful presenters have brought of how scholarship, research, thought, and if I may say so, human conscience can really change and transform our world in your opening phrase. And I know, Marianella, you have spoken about sustainability and made the point that we should not use it as a synonym for being green. And we think of sustainability as something that goes on and replicates itself. And I think the dimensions that we have seen this evening in this conversation or this afternoon have really highlighted that so effectively. I'm very grateful that Dr. Grewal has joined us. He is, apart from being a pioneer in so many educational fields, he is, as I know, a nematologist of great repute. And when you think of the science of nematology and possibly its earliest references in the Old Testament of the Bible, in the book of Moses, where there's a reference to fiery serpents being unleashed on the world and killing the population, which today's nematologists consider to be a reference to the Guinea worm. And you think of those fiery serpents as a metaphor for what we have been going through in 2020. And the reason I mention that metaphor is because it shows us that virtually everything we take for granted, the little Karla, who grew up wanting to be a chemist without knowing what a chemist was, Armando, who enjoyed his grandparents till he lost them to Alzheimer's, all the things that we take for granted. And when I think of the pioneering work that Dr. Grewal has done in expanding, if I may borrow the phrase from our wonderful presentation on education, La Frontera, the frontiers of education, of sustainable agriculture and rural advancement, of research into vector diseases, of urban ecology. And I think of that first, as Dr. Grewal would remember, 2 days ago, the people of India and indeed the world celebrated the birth anniversary of the founder of the Sikh religion, Guru Nanak. And Guru Nanak had a very powerful phrase when he said, when you plant a seed, the nature of the seed you plant, the nature of the soil in which you plant the seed, and the nature of the environment in which that seed blossoms will all shape the eventual plant that comes out from the seed. And I think that is a metaphor for our conversation today. Because when you take the seed of enthusiasm and knowledge that each one of our presenters has put forward, the unique style that each one of them has brought to it, then you realize the possibilities which are ingrained in the growing of the plant, which will come from that seed. I think of the idea with which Raul began this, the idea of the chronic kidney disease, which is so underestimated in our world precisely because people do not know they're affected by it. Just last week, the United Nations discovered that in one member state, in one country in the world, which has had a history of conflict, of poverty, of economic challenge, the country of El Salvador, chronic kidney disease has reached epidemic proportions. And it's no longer an illness of the elderly or the adult. It affects children as well. So when Raul is able to use the power of his imagination to say that there must be another method other than the invasive one of blood sampling, the use of saliva to be able to trace this, that is not only a scientific achievement, it is an achievement for the United Nations, as each one of these is. When you think of the project that Karla has worked on clean water, working with universities in China and Minnesota and Malaysia, again, you come to the realization that humankind should not be intimidated or terrified, but by what it needs to sustain itself. And the moment we find fright in the water that we drink, or as Armando suggested, the air we breathe, then what is there left for us to savor or to enjoy? And only science can help us do that. Science and scholarship, again, the idea that Dr. Grewal has pioneered of community-engaged scholarship, of high school students working with universities, the idea of a truly holistic, integrated, pioneering society that the University of Texas at Rio Grande so clearly is. And I think of the school where Jaqueline taught, the Margot Elementary School, and I went to its website, and the very first thing you see on that website is a statistic. If a child reads 20 minutes a day, she would have read 1.8 million words over a year and will be in the 90th percentile of any standardized test. 20 minutes a day. That is what we in our Sustainable Development Goals have called the beginning of lifelong learning, which all of you represent. But lifelong learning itself, you may have the power to learn all your life, but will you have the life to live that long if you are going to be impaired with chronic kidney disease, if you are going to be impaired with Alzheimer's, the solutions that we must seek? So that presentation, as I said, by Griselda and Jaqueline, and I was so moved by the word frontier, because what is a frontier? A frontier in many ways is what we normally consider a border, a boundary, a limitation behind which you are. But a frontier is open. It does not constrain you within, but it allows you to expand without, just like the frontiers of human imagination and human capacity that all of you have so vividly demonstrated. Armando's presentation, and to my mind, its most powerful and poignant last line about losing our loved ones before they die because of Alzheimer's, perhaps today because of the coronavirus, because many of the 1.5 million lives we've lost globally were lost to us even before their last breath had been taken. They were incubated and isolated in hospital wards or in the despair of their homes, unable to comprehend, to reach out, to be understood. And so in many ways, it's a terrifying world we're living in. But there is a source of hope. Today, the 2nd of December, is the 50th anniversary of the start of the United States Environmental Protection Agency. And you think of that decision in 1970 by, frankly, a very improbable president, Richard Nixon, who decided to establish it. But at least there was a sense in government, in the scholarship that animated government, that there must be administrative responsibility to secure our world and keep it safe from the dangers that each one of our presenters has put forward. December 2nd, also the anniversary of the founding of one of the oldest universities in Europe, the University of Leipzig, in 1409. Think of that. 600 years ago, a university established in what is today's Germany. The idea that knowledge cannot be scattered or diffused, but must be organized. But I say that with some caution because I think the one lesson I've learned in the last 75 minutes or 90 minutes has been we should not organize our minds too much. We must allow them to roam free to the possibilities that each one of you have opened up, to the fact that each of you have related your projects, not to the most immediate sustainable development goal which would suggest itself, but to 2, to 3, to 4 of them. Because these 17 goals all, as you said so beautifully, Marinella, the people, the planet, and yes, profit. But that integration is something that we must secure. You have made that possible. You are a university which has shown that even in the most difficult of times, and even if at this time you do lose an occasional match to the Longhorns, you still have a great deal to be happy about and a great deal to look forward to and a great deal to contribute to a very, very grateful world, of which I am but a humble spokesman. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Damodaran, for your very, very eloquent, kind, and inspiring words. We truly appreciate you taking the time to be with us and to inspire us. Dr. Graywell, I don't know if you would like to say anything. We are very close to out of time, and we have a couple of other things we want to share. But Dr. Graywell, I'd like to open the mic in case there was something you'd like to share with Mr. Damodaran.
First of all, Mr. Ramu Damodaran, thank you for accepting our invitation. We are so pleased and so impressed how you have eloquently stated and related the pieces of work to the broader vision of a global society. And the background information that you have brought in from all of us, we are very impressed. We are very pleased to meet you, although this way, but we appreciate what the work that you are doing at United Nations and the work that you have done as ambassador and to the government of India supporting the president. And people like you dedicated to the work of United Nations are so precious and needed. We see these changes over time in our political system. Some of them are aberrations, but the work of the United Nations must continue. With the 17 identified sustainable development goals inspires us all, and we are using that as a framework to inspire our students so that they can become the change agent that you are looking for. Of course, Marinella Franklin, who has guided them, as you have noted in your presentation, very effectively, because otherwise they would have done their piece of research very focused on the subject matter, but now they are able to frame it, think about the bigger issue and problem, and start thinking about preventing some of these problems to achieve the larger goals, the UN goals. So with that, I want to thank you again and thank all the speakers who have done very good work in a short period of time. They were all engaged in this just for 1 year, and some of them have another year that they will be working on. So thank you to the speakers and their advisors as well, who have guided them. Excellent presentations. So good to meet you.
Thank you, Dr. Graywall. With that, I would like to quickly give recognition to our outstanding fellows who began the summer of 2019 and have now completed their work, beginning with Raul Espinoza. Congratulations for such a great job, Raul. And Karla Salazar, Jackie and Griselda, Jaqueline Lopez Griselda Salinas, Armando Garces. Thank you so much for such incredible, extraordinary work that you have done and will continue to do. I also want to quickly introduce you to some of the current fellows. Mauricio Castellano, who you will be hearing from next semester as he finishes his fellowship, from Broadway to Brownsville, bringing a world-class experience and education on sustainable development to the US-Mexico border. He is working with Dr. Juliet Garcia on this project. Also, Jaimonti Majubder, who is working on a dye-sensitized solar cell and advancing technology to promote advanced technology in renewable energy. This will also be very awe-inspiring, and we get to hear from her next semester. Natalie Salazar, who is working on reporting the success and the sustainability efforts of the Campus Food Security Initiative. This is an initiative led by Ms. Jayshree Bhatt at the Department of Professional Education and Workforce Development. So we're excited to hear the success story about this particular initiative here on campus. Also, this semester, this is the cohort of students that just joined us and are just now beginning their fellowship. Sweet Tank Mohan, who's working on a feasibility study for bioplastics in the Rio Grande Valley. Simi Chowdhury, who is working on corporate social responsibility and its levels of impact on community health. We've never seen this before. We've heard all about corporate social responsibility, but not the impact that this has on community health. So it'll be interesting. Anita Narayanan, who is working on 3D printing of embedded sensors as a sustainable alternative to commercial off-the-shelf sensors. Again, innovation, another advancement in technology for the sake of sustainability. Griselda Cuellar is a history major. So she is looking at the history of disease in the United States using history to establish frameworks of disease treatment and response. A lot of work being put into that as well. Forhad Ahmad, who is doing some outstanding work on nutritional pharmacological investigation of the unexplored native seaweeds in the Gulf of Mexico at South Padre Island, and focusing on the nutritional values for the sake of zero hunger and good health and well-being. Claudia Aleman is conducting our UTRGV greenhouse gas emissions inventory. This is a campus project that initiated 3 years ago. And what's interesting this year is that she will be collecting data in collaboration with the facilities department and looking at the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions due to COVID-19 here at the university, which will be very interesting to see. Also, we have Hasbani Irison. She is working on the precise method to identify kinase drug targets in complex diseases. This is a first step towards sustainable and effective treatment, also in conjunction or with a focus of good health and wellness. And last but not least, Mr. Eric Martinez, who is working on the flow simulation for a novel wave energy converter design. Again, another advancement in technology technology. We all know of wave energy converters, but he is looking at a specific simulation flow that could improve this immensely. And so I also want to take this time to welcome our 5 new fellows who Dr. Graywell has just awarded the fellowship. They will begin with us spring of 2021. We look forward to meeting them all and working with them as they start their fellowship journey. And that is Ms. Siram Pearl Kuma, Mr. Ashrafuzaman Nasim, Catherine Muriyuki, Vincent Asare Manu, and Shaila Akhter Shetu. And all 5 of them are international students as well. This again revolves all around our goal and alignment of the UN Sustainable Development Goals with the purpose of providing student success. So we are very proud of all our fellows, and we wish them the best in the years to come as they move forward through their sustainability, professional and personal lives and journeys. I want to introduce you very quickly to 3 other programs that also involve students. These are not graduate students, these are undergraduate students, but I'm very proud of our new sustainability fellow. Our faculty fellow this year is Ms. Silvia Robles. And since the inception of the UTRGV Adopt a Startup program, she has been helping students integrate the UN Sustainable Development Goals and sustainability practices to work with small businesses within the region, and the students help them create new sustainable business models and sustainable practices, business practices. Another great champion is Ms. Maria Leonard from the College of Business and Entrepreneurship. She advises our UTRGV student organization called Enactus, and they have been my sustainability ambassadors now for several years. This year, they chose a new project as ambassadors called Sustainability Opportunities for Advancement and Recruitment. It is in partnership with Team Mario, and Team Mario is a very special community organization that helps autistic children as well as disabled children. And so this ambassadorship will be our students leading these wonderful students through sustainability literacy, leadership, and workforce development. And so we're really excited about this particular project. And last but not least, I want to share a new program that was just started this semester with our UTRGV Math and Science Academy. They also are ambassadors for sustainability, and they are currently working on mapping the UN SDGs in the Rio Grande Valley. At the moment, they have the goal for the Sustainable Development Goals you see at the top, and they will continue working on this till we get all 17, and then we're going to share a beautiful website with a map that shares all the wonderful contributions here at the Rio Grande Valley, and hopefully everyone will use this website to connect and partner for future research and future support of sustainable development here in the Rio Grande Valley. With that, I'd like to open the mic for Dr. Parwinder Graywell so that he can provide us our closing remarks. And again, I thank you all for being with us in this wonderful day and reception for celebrating our 5 outstanding sustainability fellows. Thank you.
Yeah, at this time, I just would like to say thank you again for this wonderful session today. I'm seeing comments made by all the people who have attended it, that included some of our students in the university that have joined us today to hear all these presentations. It's been very, very well done, and all the students have done well, especially our keynote speaker have brought the event home, and we are so delighted to have him with us as well. So thank you Dr. Damodaran, Mr. Damodaran. We will be in touch with you in the future to continue our engagement and expand our work on sustainability and furthering the goals of United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals. So thank you all for joining. Let us continue this work. This work needs to be sustained in the form of sustainable to other activities. Thank you for joining again. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. or Mr. Damodaran, and thank you to all the students and all our guests. Thank you.